Abortion happens every day. Millions of people around the world will have an abortion each year, but the majority of those people will never talk about their abortion experiences. What if millions of people broke their silence and told the truth about their lives and their choices? This is Melissa Madera in Granville, Ohio, and you're listening to the Abortion Diary podcast. These are the stories we share.
So my first abortion was in January of 2001. I found out I was pregnant on Christmas of 2000. Took a pregnancy test and it was positive. I was out of town with my mom and my sisters. But previous to that, I had sex with my partner and we used a condom. And the condom ended up, I guess you could say, busting, but I didn't know. And it ended up kind of inside of me. And at the time, there was no plan B or any type of emergency contraceptive. So I really didn't think, anything of it. I didn't know if it had burst or not. I just know it was inside of me. So, a month later, no period. A little bit of nausea, and I already had 2 children. I had 2 small children. My son was probably 4 or 5, and my youngest son was a year. Yeah, about a year, because he was born in 99. So he was about a year old, and I was a college student at the time. And when I found that I was pregnant, I immediately knew I did not want to have this. I didn't want to continue with the pregnancy. So basically, I scheduled to get a pregnancy test at the doctor's office just to make sure. And I was pregnant. They asked that I want to make an appointment with the doctor, and I told her I was not going to continue on with the pregnancy, and she offered to make an appointment with the clinic, but I didn't have the money, so I had to wait a couple of weeks to get my first paycheck of the job I was starting, and also I was receiving public assistance, so I had to wait on that. I told the guy, but I don't know if he really thought I was going to go through with it, so I ended up doing it. And I told a friend of mine at the time, and she was going to drive me. But the day that I was supposed to go, she did not answer her phone. So I had to basically take the bus there to the clinic. I was getting local anesthesia because I was not that far along anyway, probably 5 or 6 weeks. So I just took the bus and the train there. And there were no protesters. It was a cold day. The clinic at the time was in a regular building with other, medical offices and things like that. So, there were no protesters. So that really didn't worry me. It was a really small clinic when I think about it. Everything went smoothly. There were a lot of women there. There were women there alone. There were women there with their families, or women there with their moms. And at that time, there was no 1-day waiting period. So I just went and had the procedure. It was really quick. It was a quick procedure. I didn't, realize it was going to be that quick. It was about 5 minutes. It was uncomfortable, but it was over with, And I ended up, just going back home on the train. The doctor, the only thing I could say about the doctor that I remember is him telling me to have a nice day. And I'm like, have a nice day. I wasn't mad at him because I know that he meant it in a good way. But I'm like, oh my God, I'm not really going to have a nice day because, I just had an abortion and I know that my family's religious, and the only person that really knew about it was my mom, and my sisters, but they were younger, so they didn't understand. So I don't think I was in a relationship with anyone until probably July of that year. I met the person I got pregnant by. And this time I started taking birth control pills. And I got pregnant using birth control. So when I'm trying to think about it, I kind of knew that I gotten pregnant because of the feelings I started feeling, the nausea and the breast tenderness and all those changes. And I was just tired all the time. I was in school at the time as well. So I thought maybe it's a school, I'm starting back to school. Maybe it's just that. Then I started, I ended up taking the Plan B. When I think about it, it's like, okay, so I get pregnant using birth control and I take Plan B just to make sure. And I guess I'm already pregnant at the time. This time was different because I made a decision with him. He felt like, I already had 2 children and it wasn't the best time for either one of us because he didn't have any children. And he just felt like he, at that time, could take on the responsibility of all of us financially. So we made that decision. And I did have insurance, so my insurance paid for it, and he gave me the copay. And he couldn't go with me because he had just started a job and was in training and couldn't take the time off to, be with me. But, he provided that support as far as financially with the copay. I don't remember if there were any protesters because I got a ride this time. But I was alone. It was a little bit longer process. I was a little bit further along. I think I was probably 8 or 9 weeks. Maybe 7 to 9 weeks. I was still in my first trimester. I was more relieved, because I didn't have to worry about the financial issue of it. But I was just like, oh my God, I'm pregnant again. I'm pregnant again in like 8 or 9 months. How did this happen? Is there somebody against me up there? So, I had to really think about me trying to finish college because I was going to be finishing up my associates at the time. So I said, I can't continue on with the pregnancy. This is just not the right time. This is not the right time. But the issues with that was I was being treated for depression. So I had to get a consent from my doctor stating that I was pretty much, I don't want to say the word sane enough, but capable to make that decision to terminate the pregnancy. So that took a little while. It took like a week. So the procedure actually had been scheduled early in September. And I had to wait about 2 weeks. When I found out I had to wait, I cried. I cried. I was so mad because I just wanted to get it over with because I was having bad nausea, and it was affecting me going to class, and, I was throwing up and I couldn't make it, and so I had a counselor drive me to the clinic. She couldn't stay because she had other clients. So, I had the procedure done. It was quick, no pain. I had local anesthesia. And everybody at preterm was nice, professional, I don't want to say loving, but I had a sense that they cared. After the procedure, I ended up staying over the weekend in a kind of a inpatient treatment because they felt like because I had depression and it was kind of severe that they didn't want the my fluctuating hormones to trigger any type of depressive episode. So I stayed there for that time, and then I healed. I was fine. Everything went well. Went back to my checkup. I was fine. And then, let me see, probably 4 years later, I got my tubes tied because I said, I'm not going to continue getting pregnant again because I'm very fertile. So that's it. But every time I had to think about my sons, I had to think about their quality of life as well as mine and my education. So that's the reason why I made those choices.
So you told your mother the first time you had an abortion. Did you tell her the second time?
I believe I told her. I don't know. I don't remember. For a fact, I know about the first time I told her. The second time, I'm not sure about. I probably didn't tell her just then. We probably spoke about it after the fact years later because she ended up telling me she had an abortion. I already knew about one of her abortions she had before she got pregnant with me. And she was 15. But then she told me she had another abortion. So, after that. So, we had started discussing that. And, yeah. So, we kind of talked about it, but it wasn't a serious in-depth talk. She just was I got pregnant and I had an abortion, So.
Did you tell anyone else?
A couple of my friends knew, but it wasn't, it wasn't a big deal because I know people who've had abortions. So, I've had family members, I've had friends, people who I grew up with, chose to end their pregnancies for whatever reasons it was, So it wasn't I was kind of hush-hush about it. But I wasn't screaming it to the top of my lungs to everybody. But most people, my family, close friends, they knew about it. So.
Why do you want to share your story?
I want to share my story because it's important to just let people know that abortion is a part of life. And women have abortions for so many other reasons. We're not all sluts. We not all promiscuous. We don't just have sex with people willy-nilly because I think that a lot of people who are against abortion believe that women use this as a birth control, and it's not that. Just to reduce the stigma. I am trying to become an abortion doula. So I want to provide those type of services and be there for women when they're having their procedures, to hold their hand or talk to them or, if they're having a second trimester procedure, it's, kind of intense or painful, to just be there to soothe them, to help them get through it. Because I was alone, so it would have been nice to have somebody to talk to or, rub my hand.
Did you feel supported in the procedure room with someone there to help support you? Even
yes.
If you didn't have.
Both times I had a nurse there. So I did have a nurse there. And, both times they were really nice and they talked me through the procedure. The doctor talked me through the first time and told me what was going to happen and what was he doing step by step. And I think everybody was professional and they had enough, what's the word I want to say? I don't want to say nurturing, but they had enough professionalism to know how to be helpful and, to explain certain things. And, it wasn't a bad experience. It was pretty positive. I didn't have any bad situations where I had people in my face or protesters or anything like that. I don't remember any protesters if they were there. But now that I'm a patient escort at preterm, I do I see the protesters, and I hear them screaming mean, awful things to these women. And I've even had talks with some of the protesters, and they're the same men. They're there every Saturday. And I've had a couple protesters telling me I'm going to go to hell, and I need to see a priest for my sins and things of that nature. So, it's kind of like. And then whenever I ask them, like, what are you going to personally do for these women who, if they do continue on with their pregnancies, and they're like, well, we'll just tell them about some programs, some social programs. It's like, they don't want to hear about these social programs. They want to, it's not the right time for them. You're not going to personally do anything for them. So why do you feel like it's your choice to make? They scream things like mommy, mommy, and they hold up baby clothes and baby blankets. And it's like, you don't realize that half these women have children already, so they already know. Or if there's a man coming in there with them, daddy, don't do this. And it's just mean, awful things that try to elicit some type of emotional response. And it's like, there's nothing you can say to someone who's made up their mind about what they want to do, because it's what they need to do for themselves, not for you, because ultimately it's not your choice. Is not going to affect you. Like, I had to tell one guy, I said, well, look, I said, do you eat beef and pork? He said, yeah. I said, well, look, I don't eat beef or pork. And I said, so basically I would be wrong to tell you you're disgusting for doing that. But no, because it's not affecting me or my body about what you eat. So whoever these women are choosing to end their pregnancies or not, or they can't afford to have another child, it's not any of your business, because it's not affecting you personally. So you passing judgment or attempting to be a good Christian, and that, they all say it's in the name of God and it's a sin and all this other stuff. And it's like, I throw back Bible verses at them and tell them that what about judging? Judge not lest you be judged also. So don't tell me about what's a sin and what's not a sin. And you're sitting here judging people, and you're not going to do anything for them. You're not going to personally do anything. You're not going to provide diapers or daycare money or clothes or shoes or food or anything, or housing, or anything that this child needs. You're not going to stay woke in the middle of the night when this child is sick. You're not going to be able to be called whenever you need a daycare and the daycare provider is closed or whatever, and you got to go to work and your child is sick and you can't take them to the daycare. Like, you won't do any of that for any of these people. You don't know any of these people's personal lives and personal stories or reasons why they're having abortions. And volunteering in the clinic, I know there's a lot of reasons why women choose it. Sometimes it's fetal anomalies, or, it's just that they found out too late and they're trying to scrape up money, or they just don't have any money and they've had to ask around, so it's hard, it's rough, and I was fortunate enough the first time to have enough money to pay for it, and the second time to have insurance to pay for it.
How much did it cost the first time?
The first time it was about $400 something. The second time I don't know, because my insurance paid, but the copay was like $15 or $20. So, but coming up with that money the first time was hard, because I didn't have a job. Well, I had a job, but I just started, so I had like a week's pay, and then I had like my welfare check, because I was receiving public assistance while I was going to school. So that was really hard to try to scrape up the money.
As always, for more information about the Abortion Diary podcast, visit us on the web at theabortiondiary.com, or email me with your questions or comments. If you would like to share your story, send me an email at melissa@theabortiondiary.com, or visit our website, click on Share Your Abortion Story, and fill out our contact form. If you're a fan of the podcast and would like to help us reach more folks, please subscribe on iTunes and write a review or rate this podcast. Your reviews and ratings will help us grow in the iTunes rankings and reach more people. I would also love to hear from you. You can also follow The Abortion Diary on Twitter or Facebook. And The Abortion Diary can't continue without your support. Support The Abortion Diary by making a tax-deductible donation to us on Fractured Atlas, or buying some of our wristbands or totes on Store Envy. And a special thanks to you for listening. I'll be back next week with a new story.